Have you ever felt that silent pressure in your chest? The kind that makes you wonder if your entire life is slipping through your hands? Not loud fear, but the quiet kind. The kind that whispers, what if you never make it? It's the fear of watching everyone else move forward while you stay stuck. The fear of waking up at 25 or 30 and realizing you wasted the most important years of your life. But here's the crazy part. None of this is your fault. You were never taught how to break out of this mental trap. You were programmed to stay exactly where you are. And in the next 10 minutes, I'm going to show you the exact mental shift that took me from broke, confused, and terrified of my future to someone who made their first $100,000 before 20, and it doesn't start with money. It starts with something far deeper. That's why this video carries the title, How I Brainwashed Myself to Be a Millionaire at 20, because real transformation begins in your psychology. It's the doorway out of the life you're afraid of becoming trapped in. For me, the shift didn't start with motivation. It didn't start with a big opportunity. It didn't even start with a plan. Until one night, everything snapped.
It was never random.
I remember sitting in my room at 2 a.m., the world completely silent. The only light came from my phone screen as I scrolled through videos of teenagers making money, traveling, creating, building. People younger than me who looked like they were living in a different reality entirely. Meanwhile, I felt stuck. Like time was moving, but I wasn't. Like I was watching my own life from the outside, unable to change anything. And then it hit me, not gradually, but like a shock running straight through my chest. If nothing changes in my mind, nothing will ever change in my life. That single realization shattered me, but it also woke me up. Because in that exact moment, I understood something most people never figure out. Your mind is already brainwashed, just not by you. And if I didn't take back control of that programming, I was going to stay stuck in the exact same life I was scared of living. This wasn't inspiration. This wasn't hype. This was survival. And that night, in that dark room at 2 a.m., is where everything truly began. Once I realized my mind was the real enemy, I was left with one brutal question. Where did these thoughts even come from? Because I knew I wasn't born scared. I wasn't born doubting myself. I wasn't born thinking success was for other people. Those thoughts came from somewhere, and I needed to find out where. I remember a moment when it finally clicked. I was around 14, sitting at the dinner table, and I heard my father say, just find a safe job. Don't take risks. Life isn't meant to be easy. He didn't say it to hurt me. He said it because it was the only life he knew. At the time, it sounded normal. But years later, that one sentence hit me like a knife. That wasn't his advice. That was his fear. And without realizing it, I had inherited it. That's when everything started making sense. My fear of failing, my hesitation to try, my belief that success was for other people. None of it came from me. It came from people who lived their entire lives trying not to lose instead of trying to win. So I started questioning everything. Why do I assume something won't work before I even try? Who taught me that being safe is better than being successful? Why do I compare myself to people who aren't even playing the game I want to play? How much of my identity was built by people who never became who I want to be? Those weren't self-help questions. Those were psychological weapons. And what I discovered next was terrifying. My entire mindset wasn't built on growth. It was built on avoiding loss. I wasn't thinking like someone who wanted to win. I was thinking like someone who was terrified of losing. So I made a decision that felt more like surgery than self-help. If a thought came from fear, it got deleted. If it came from someone else's insecurity, it got replaced. If it came from society's expectations, it got ignored. I didn't change my life by adding new ideas. I changed it by deleting the ones that were never mine. And once the old programming was gone, everything else finally had room to evolve. The story I lived by sounded like this. I'm not smart enough. I'm not confident enough. I'm not built for success. Short sentences, deep conditioning, years of repetition. But here's the twist. Truth and repetition feel identical to the mind. So instead of trying to motivate myself, I rebuilt the story I believed, sentence by sentence. Not who I was, but who I needed to become. I told myself, I'm the type of person who learns fast. I'm the type of person who doesn't quit. I'm the type of person who shows up even when it hurts. I'm the type of person who deserves every opportunity I create. At first, it felt fake, uncomfortable, like stepping into a life that didn't fit me yet. But with repetition, my actions began to match my identity. I stopped wasting time. I stopped explaining myself to people who weren't even on the path. I started moving with purpose, not permission. And every time I broke a bad habit, it felt like burying a version of myself that had held me back for years, a quiet funeral for the old identity. This wasn't motivation. This wasn't manifestation. This was reconstruction. And when the identity shifted, the habits didn't require effort anymore. They became the only way I knew how to live. It wasn't luck. It wasn't timing. It was identity. And that identity shift made the millionaire path possible. Reprogramming my mind was the easy part. Execution was the battlefield. Because once the identity shifted, I realized a new mind means nothing without new action. Most people wait for motivation. That's why they never move. So I asked myself, now that I believe in myself, what am I actually willing to do? I picked one skill, not because it was perfect, but because it was the one thing I could get dangerously good at if I obsessed over it. And obsession became my routine. Some nights it was just me, a dim laptop screen, and a skill I refused to suck at. I still remember one night, 3:17 a.m., eyes burning, head pounding, 40 hours deep into a skill that felt impossible. Two choices: go to sleep or become someone who doesn't quit. I stayed up. That night didn't make me talented. It made me dangerous. Because success isn't built on big wins. It's built on refusing to walk away when nobody's watching. And then came the scariest part, putting myself out there. I sent 72 cold emails in one night. Only one person replied, but that reply paid me $15, and it felt like $15,000 because it proved I wasn't a spectator anymore. I was in the game. That $15 became $50. $50 became $200. $200 became consistent income, skill, income, belief, consistency, momentum. Execution didn't make me a millionaire. It made me inevitable. And from that moment forward, becoming a millionaire wasn't a dream. It was the only possible outcome. This is where everything changes. Because scaling isn't about working harder. It's about multiplying what already works. The first time I saw it click, it felt unreal. I realized the same skill that made me a few $100s could make me 10 times more without 10 times the effort. I wasn't thinking like a hustler anymore. I was thinking like a system. Here's how it happened. I took the exact cold email template that landed my first client, and I turned it into a funnel that ran 24/7. What used to depend on my energy now depended on a process. And processes don't get tired, so I duplicated what worked, improved what didn't, reinvested everything, scaled every advantage, systems, acceleration, compounding. And then came the moment, late evening, 9:42 p.m., coffee shop, laptop open, headphones on, a payout notification, then another, then another. I refreshed the dashboard, 7 digits. For a moment, I just stared, not shocked, but recognizing the person I had become. Because the person who hit that million wasn't the person who once doubted everything. That version of me died long before the million arrived. The million wasn't the victory. It was the confirmation. I didn't win because of luck or talent or timing. I won because I rebuilt the person doing the work. When I closed the laptop that night, I realized I didn't reach $1 million. I reached 1 million decisions. Every choice, every repetition, every risk, every identity shift. That's what built the million. And the best part? Once you reprogram who you are, you never go back to who you were.